Welcome to Nerds Amalgamated, a podcast that covers the latest events in science, pop culture, and gaming.
I'm the professor, aspiring game developer, sci-fi aficionado, and completely and undeniably a geek trying to take over the world! I'll be breaking down the news from Hector Gaming.
I am the DJ, a humble nerd, a big weeb,
and a watcher from the halls of the multiverse.
Just kidding. Anyways, I'll be breaking down all things comics to movies to anime.
Join us and stay hydrated as we quench witty banter, unintentionally hilarious hot takes, and trivia more fun than a night at the pub, courtesy of Nerds Amalgamated. Welcome back to Nerds Amalgamated. We've got another great show for you today. We're talking about why whales hate humans, why EVE Online is going open source, and why people are leaving Hollywood.
Well, I don't get an introduction this time.
No, you don't. We've been over this. You get the introduction in the introduction.
No. I know.
We recorded the introduction, so we don't need to keep doing the introduction.
Oh, so angry today. How are you?
No, DJ. How are you?
I'm fine. That was actually funny.
So, DJ, have you ever seen a whale?
I wish I could, but I can't due to there's not much whales coming around at my end of town.
Yeah, we live a bit too far inland to see whales.
Yep.
I did see a fat guy swim once. Does that count?
No, that doesn't count. Although, did he? How far did he go?
Doing laps of the pool, so there and back again.
Ugh, I don't want that image in my head now. Damn it!
A new study has found that Australian humpback whales were healthier and less stressed during the COVID-19 pandemic when human activity was reduced. Now, my first big question is that they did the study by taking samples using darts. The darts would penetrate the skin of the whale and collect a sample of skin and blubber.
Okay, yeah.
Are you sure that's not going to make the whales more stressed?
I mean, they said here this research was done similarly in Boston after the 9/11 attacks at New England Aquarium. I'm like, oh, what the hell? Yes, it would. But to answer your question, yes, it would antagonize the whales in terms of, oh my god, human beings are coming close to me. What should I do?
Have you ever seen a video of a whale farting?
No. Should I be concerned? Oh no.
I'm just saying, if the whales wanted to weaponize their excretion, I wouldn't want to be a diver anywhere near them.
Is it terrifying?
It's a lot.
I mean, if I recall, a whale's diet is insane. It is insanely huge, so they can take a lot in.
So anyway, the research that they did by taking these samples from the whale was testing to see whether the whales were more or less stressed. And yes, they were less stressed. They studied the whales during their migration to track size, health, and energy levels, and found lower levels of the hormone cortisol when fewer humans are on the ocean.
Okay.
And Dr. Linsky, who ran the study, reckons that this is probably because there's a lot less noise going on. Whales, you probably know, sing to communicate. And that is a bit more difficult when you're surrounded by thousands of extremely noisy ships. The other worrying part, though, that's fairly easy to fix. We need to work on making ships that are quieter. The other theory that he came up with is that the whales were eating fewer polychlorinated biphenyls, PCBs. They're a chemical that is now extremely restricted, as it turns out to be quite bad for you.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's really hard to clean up. They're a highly carcinogenic chemical, banned internationally in 2001. So that's worrying that human pollution is causing tons of hormone changes in the whales, which means that it could be causing the same sort of issue in humans.
But then the interesting part with that is with having whales having having ships trying to deal with clashing with whaling migration. Like there are there are things that that needs to be done essentially. Like I need to deliver this package, for example. You know what I mean? Like, can
Yeah,
you imagine being a business person and go like, "Oh, sorry, man, I can't deliver this package to you from overseas because it might clash with the whaling migration cycle."
yeah. There are ways to work around that though.
Mhm.
Even if we could only use the ships we have today, you can fly things, which is more polluting, yes.
Yeah, yeah,
You can sail to another port, offload there, and then use land based transport to get to your final destination.
yeah.
You could switch to sailing ships, which is already a thing that's been discussed on and off for decades.
Okay.
Ever since the great oil shortage of the 70s, there have been shipping companies talking about building a sailing ship, cargo ship, like a container ship with sails attached.
That would be that would be hilarious in a sense of yes, we're going back to the old designs, and can you imagine the modern pirates boarding one of those ships and taking over those ships?
Yeah, modern pirates have to go back to speaking the old ones though. No, you're probably not going to get a Somalian boarding your ship and going, "Ah, matey."
And not to mention, like, they will will they cost more or will they cost less these alternatives in terms of delivering the goods? Like, I feel like these alternatives, as environmentally friendly as they are, they will also cost a lot in terms of who will do which company will do what in the tasks.
Yeah, it'll cost more, but we're at the point where we really need to do something. And if that's going to cost more, so be it. Companies won't like it, but it might be genuinely the only way to save whales. So,
Yeah. And you also have to wonder, it's not just the shipping companies that are doing this sort of damage, it's also the tourist industry as well.
yeah, cruise ships are particularly bad,
Yeah.
but that's got a pretty easy fix. Stop using cruise ships and start using buses.
But using buses, it like you trying to go to you have to find a specific spot to have the best view of the whales and stuff and other variables like that. So and it will take it takes a lot of trial and error just to find that spot. And then not to mention like even if you find that one spot, you're gonna have to keep it a secret from other tourist operators to go, okay, this is the good spot. Don't tell anyone about this.
That's already a problem for cruise ships.
Hmm.
There are places like at Venice
Hmm.
that are overrun by tourists every tourist season
Hmm.
and need to implement limits and taxes to reduce the number of tourists that come.
Oh yeah, it's because the places were sinking, isn't it?
No, it's because there's just too many tourists and
Wow.
there's not enough room for them.
Okay.
Venice sinking is an entirely different problem.
Okay.
It would continue to sink whether the tourists came on.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm seeing one of the articles here. So over tourism has become an issue. The city has adopted some new rules. So one of the rules is limiting the number of people in tour groups and banning loudspeakers for one. And also in terms of banning limiting the number of people, so there only 25 people will be allowed per group. And these rules came into effect last month, June the 1st. But it's not just the human effects, the human parts that's affecting the whale migration cycle. There's also the climate as well that's affecting the whale cycles as well.
Yeah, that's significantly more difficult to solve.
Hmm.
The author of the study does mention that it could have been because of the La Nina causing a change in the krill, but that really needs more research to see whether that's the cause.
So, given given all the info that's been revealed out there, do you reckon the tourist industry will go, okay, these are good recommendations. We'll try and adhere to them, or you reckon they'll just go, nah, I'll be fine. Just let's keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah, I don't think the tourist industry is going to change unless the government makes them.
But it does specify that human activity is definitely plays a big part in this.
Yeah,
That's for certain. I mean, even if the government doesn't do any like enforceable stuff, I think it's good that they brought awareness in terms of, hey, guys, there is a bit of a problem with the whales. We would love you to love you to don't do anything stupid. Don't antagonize the local the local creatures. Just let them be and just take snapshots and don't touch them because you're bound to see a couple of idiots that will do something stupid with the whales.
yeah, we already have laws about that.
Hmm. The other interesting part with it is how this is after COVID-19, a very big pandemic. So does it say as well that okay, if this if you want whale numbers to get back to what they were before, you would need a bigger pandemic to deal with to sort this problem out.
No, I don't think so. I think it's possible to figure this out without having a massive pandemic. I just don't know if the political will is there to regulate it.
Mm. I think the political will is there. It's just there's no I mean the political will is there. It's just they need to iron out the details. That's what I think it's happening. Will happen eventually. But I could be dead wrong on that one.
You're more optimistic than.
Oh, that's fair.
So, save the whales and save the games.
Nice segue.
I'm sure you've heard of EVE Online.
Yeah. They've got they had some interesting contests over the years. If I remember, the Eve Online did $1 million challenge a few years back. Or was it million? Was it $1 million?
I don't recall a challenge, but there is a way to calculate the real world value of these spaceships.
Yeah.
And there have been battles that I'm pretty sure get well into the hundreds of thousands of dollars
Hmm.
worth of spaceships that have been destroyed.
Yeah. Here we go. It was the Battle of BR5RB. Yeah, that was the that happened in 4 years ago, in 2020. The massacre of M2XFE broke the record of largest total destruction, costing about $378,012 in player investments.
That's a very precise number for being an about. Like that, we're not sure, but there's definitely $12 in there. I've always wanted to get into EVE Online, but I've never done it because I know I'm the sort of person who will get absolutely sucked into it and never come back.
I can totally see you now. Just like imagine I just knock on your door and you be like, "Close the door." Don't knock on the door unless you got something some emergency. I'm playing Eve Online. Don't disturb me. But would you spend okay? If you were to go on Eve Online, would you spend money to play it though?
It's free to play these days, so
I
you don't
I I,
have to.
I get that it's free to play, but then there will be some stuff you have to buy.
I probably would eventually end up paying for it because, like I said, I'm the type to get sucked into it. But it's also a spreadsheet simulator. They integrated with Microsoft Excel recently because there's such an emphasis on trading and calculating that they went to Microsoft and were like, hey, can we integrate Microsoft Excel into our game? Anyway, back onto the topic. EVE Online is going open source. The developer, CCP Games from Iceland, are planning on open sourcing the Carbon development platform, including the Carbon engine and other tech, which is all the back end that runs EVE Online. And that's because the CEO believes that the only way to keep EVE going beyond the demise of the company, which hopefully doesn't happen anytime soon, is for people to be able to share it and modify it.
Okay, help me out here. So, when someone says it's gone open source, what does it mean exactly?
Well, when making software, you write the source code and then compile that into an executable. The
Okay.
executable can't be turned back into source code without a ton of effort.
Okay.
The basic idea is that you then take the source code and release that as well as the executable. So someone who wants to download your software can take the entire thing and basically put it together from scratch. You're releasing all of the tools and equipment used to make it, as well as the finished product.
Okay.
So anyone can look at the recipe and then go and make their own changes or make an exact copy.
Okay. So that said, so how does it deal with with issues like copyright and stuff? Would that is that once it goes open source, it's fine? Like copyrights all cool, or is it a very murky world?
Well, really, it depends on the licensing. There are different licenses for open source software, ranging from things like GPL, the MIT license. I'm not an expert in open source licensing,
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
so I can't tell you off the top of my head what the difference between them are.
Hmm.
But one of the big points of GPL is that if you make a product that is modified, you then have to also release it open source, I believe.
Okay. So with the Eve Online, so copyright, putting the game on open source, so that means the copyright stuff, it will not be affected in that sense, would it?
Well, we'll have to see how they release it.
Hmm.
But often when games go open source, what they will release is the source code, but they won't release the assets. So you'll have the sort of the recipe, but you won't have any of the graphics or sounds or anything like that to go with it.
Hmm.
So someone can then go and make their own version of the graphics and put it in with the source code and get a game that plays exactly the same but looks different. So that's one way of making it so that even though you're open source, people still pay for.
From a creative standpoint, it's a good idea to make it open source, because people can, in that way people can make their own versions of stuff from Eve, and maybe create their own games of it. Would you agree?
Yeah, part of the goal of going open source is that you then can draw from the talent pool of everybody on Earth, since you're not paying them. So
Hmm.
obviously, not getting paid for your work in a way is a disadvantage.
Hmm.
But at the same time, if anything happens to CCP Games, then the fans will be able to put together their own version of the server and run their own Eve. They probably won't be able to call it Eve because of the copyright,
Hmm.
but it will keep the game from just dying out entirely. And
And
some games go open source and get a whole new life.
you have any for example?
I'm just running through the list on Wikipedia to
Hmm.
remind myself games that are actually open source and have taken on their own life. One of my favorites, Cataclysm: Dark Days Ahead, a
Hmm.
roguelike, is a completely open source game. Anyone can contribute, and it has become this massive conglomeration of mechanics, so it covers insane detail and there's an insane level of complexity. There's open source re-implementations of other games, like Freeciv is a recreation of Civilization 2.
How do you spell that?
Freeciv, so Freeciv.
Okay.
And that one has been in development since 1996.
Damn. So you reckon CCP has cracked the code in terms of how to make a game immortal in a sense?
I think that's what they're trying to do. And hopefully it goes better than every attempt they've made at a game that isn't Eve.
Hmm.
Because they have actually done that a few times. And, well, they haven't failed and been total flops, but they haven't been very well received.
And I'm reading also the article, and I like how when they're talking about with Eve Online, that's the fun part about Eve Online is the creating real friendships with people investing in each other's destiny. And if you have a problem in life, you can call your friends. Eve Online will create the scenario, and I think
Yeah,
that's
Eve is something special.
yeah, and it brings me back to the last episode where we were speaking about the community building and how it's not there anymore. You reckon? This is the exception in a sense?
Yeah, but Eve has also been around for like 20 years at this point.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's not a new MMO by any stretch of the imagination.
Hmm. Yeah, he said the chairman said that he's explored how EVE Online has created resilient communities around itself, which I agree. You're right. That game has been around, and the community is resilient.
So this is also sort of the exact opposite of what other companies have done. Ubisoft, where they take down the game and prevent anyone from ever playing it again.
I think imagine giving this game to imagine giving telling this to Rob Scott and say, "Hey, check this game out. This game has survived more than the Ubisoft games."
I think you mean Ross, Scott.
Oh, sorry, Ross Scott.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see in the next few years where Eve goes.
Hmm.
And the developers admit that it is a very specialized engine. It does what it does extremely well, being able to support thousands of players in one location at a time.
Yeah.
But it's also not a shooter engine. So when they've made other games, they've used other engines. They've used Unreal as an example because there are benefits to particular engines.
Mm.
And I think having access to the source code will also help new developers learn how to create massive experiences like
I just thought of something though. Isn't with the model that CCP is going for? Isn't this similar to what Minecraft is operating on in terms of they have their own servers and they can build their own worlds in a sense? Or is it a totally different model?
Yes, but Minecraft is technically not open source. It's more like source available as a side effect of being made in Java.
Ah, okay.
So, because of the way Java works, they kind of have to release the source code. And if Microsoft had their way, I think they would. But yeah, it's giving players the tools to keep the game alive when the company behind it is done with it.
Yeah.
So, let's move along to our next topic. People are leaving Hollywood.
Yes.
Where are they going?
Um, they're on the road to nowhere. I know I can't. I'm gonna hell for that. Damn it. Um. So. so. You've been hearing the news of the recent Hollywood strikes and how they demand fair treatment and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, as a result of that, a lot of people have been leaving the entertainment industry. So, Los Angeles that used to be a magnet for chasing a big break in film and TV, drawn by the allure of creative fulfillment and fame, has now become a black hole. And this is not only due to the strikes, but also the COVID pandemic, the entertainment companies hemorrhaging jobs, and the slowdown. And it's gotten to the point
What is
where
the slowdown?
the grips of a slowdown. It's the SAG-AFTRA strikes, the aftermath of it. Let's see here. I'm just looking up the article here. There's been some palpable belief, and union leaders have held the 3-year accord, but the industry isn't expecting to bounce back quickly, nor will it be the same as it was before the town shut down. Industry with more than a dozen industry veterans, including executives, talent agents, and producers, revealed deep anxiety about the turmoil in the business as consumers switch to streaming, abandoning lucrative pay TV bundles that have long buoyed the industry.
So they're basically having problems with money.
Yep. So what entertainment lawyer Rob Schwartz said, we are definitely past the high water mark of crazy money chasing content to feed streaming platforms. There won't be the same volume of content created or ordered, and that means fewer jobs for talent and for everyone. So I'm just looking a bit here. So even before the Writers Guild walked down early May, there were signs of major contraction. Walt Disney earlier this year began cutting jobs and trimming spending by billions of dollars. A harbinger that television's nearly decade-long production boom to launch new streaming services, a period known as peak TV, has reached its end.
Interesting, because there's also this idea that in the gaming industry that we've hit sort of a similar phase and are having to contract again.
Yeah, what was it the other day? Another studio has been hit with layoffs as well. Like, layoffs have been going crazy in the gaming industry for the last few weeks.
Months.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like, basically all year so far.
Hmm.
Everyone's been getting laid off.
Yeah. So they said here the strikes have accelerated the trend. Members of the Screen Actors Guild joined the writers' walkout in mid-July. Scripted productions almost entirely shut down. An estimated 45,000 jobs vanished from the entertainment and sound recording industry payroll since May, according to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics. That's a lot of jobs, man.
Yeah.
So with the with the Hollywood exodus, there are a lot of other problems that variables that contributed to the exodus. So some simply being unable or unwilling to continue to tough it out in a city whose rents have risen. Home prices linger to an all-time high, up to 6% over a year alone. And a potential strike of 60,000 people in the crew members union kept the industry on edge.
Well, if the industry wasn't trying to screw over the crew members, they wouldn't need to go on strike.
Yeah. And
So that
some
feels like a self-inflicted wound here.
and some have left to work in places like Atlanta and New Mexico with generous tax incentives. Others have given up on the entertainment industry altogether and try to forge new careers. And some have whether they've moved out of choice or desperation, uprooted Hollywood workers have inevitably coped with unexpected challenges, both financially and emotionally. And they basically highlighted three stories. So one story, Robbie Piantanadi. Yeah, I can't. I'm gonna butcher that name. Piantanida. That's the name. He was for 9 years since he moved to LA. He earned a rare credits on documentaries, music videos, and film and TV projects. He edited a PBS documentary on art dealer Jeffrey Deitch and a short doc called Fertile Ground about food insecurity in Mississippi that won a regional Emmy in 2021. But recently he's found himself caught in the industry's downdrafts, with shrinking work opportunities, the soaring cost of living. Piantanida and his wife and 2-year-old daughter have packed up and moved to his parents' native place in Tyler, Texas, to regroup and save money. They've been renting out a 3-bedroom house in Alhambra for $2,626 a month.
So I wonder if we'll see the industry follow the people out of Hollywood. If all the talent is
Yeah.
then and the industry won't pay wages high enough to live in LA, then I could see smaller regional hubs becoming. And since I've read that the reason LA was a popular filmmaking destination was because it's got a lot of different filming, like it's surrounded by a bunch. So within a few hours of LA, you can do a lot of difference.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised to see that they're not using that as much since they prefer green. And if you're using green screen, you can film anywhere.
Yeah,
You might as well go to where it's.
Yeah, and not to mention the fact that now when you have AI into the mix, how many more jobs are we going to see fold, essentially? Or how many studios are going to fold as well?
Yeah, well, a few months ago we spoke about Tyler Perry, who saw AI and was like, no, I'm not going to to build a massive new studio with AI.
I'm seeing and one of the stories that they have said here, so Talia Brahms, she's a 30-year-old, she's 30 years old, and in the former life she was a script supervisor in LA, and she was responsible for every detail on whatever film or TV project that she was working on. Well, after 6 years of the industry, having worked her way up to student films to independent features, she felt that the script of her own life needed a total rewrite, and so she decided to leave LA and do beekeeping, essentially. So yeah.
Well, I can totally see finding a new industry if the industry you've trained for just doesn't have space for you anymore.
Yeah. So Brahms initially planned to stay for a month, but when she was offered a job, she decided to take a leap of faith. I was like, screw it. I have a family in LA and I can always fall back on filmmaking, she says. So I started working for The Beekeeper. So more than 3 years later, Brahms lives outside Boulder and works as a farm assistant and manages beehives at multiple locations, deepening a newfound passion for sustainable farming. She quotes, "Even before I moved to Colorado, I really liked the idea of having a homestead," she said. "I feel like I'm just an apprentice and I'm wide open to take on all information about all these practices I'm really excited to learn about." And the cost of living over there is pretty insane as well. It's $1,200 a month for a 2-bedroom condo with her partner, who works as a financial analyst in the renewable energy business.
Still a lot cheaper cost of living than LA, though.
Yeah. Do you with these stories that we're seeing here, do you reckon it's high time people just wake up and say that, yeah, Hollywood going to Hollywood nowadays is not a dream anymore?
I think people need to go to where the work is that they want to do.
Hmm.
And I think with people leaving Hollywood for these, either Hollywood needs to change or the industry is going to. And if the industry leaves Hollywood, then people will go to wherever the industry moves to.
Yeah. And you're seeing and I think foreign cinema will catch up.
Yeah.
It is catching up. Like you're seeing a boom in Bollywood movies, for example. Japan movies as well are coming up as well. So I think foreign cinema might be the next way to go to where the jobs are.
Could be. It's another instance where we're just going to have to wait and see.
Yeah, yeah.
And moving on to our shout-outs, we have the 35th anniversary of Weekend at Bernie's. It's a 1989 dark comedy film where 2 young insurance corporation employees discover their boss is dead and attempt to convince people he's still alive before they can disguise their involvement and stop people suspecting they caused his death. Oh, it even escalates. They find out that... No, I'm not going to put that in. That sounds like a pretty major spoiler.
You've never seen that movie, have you?
I haven't.
Oh, it's a fun
Is it
movie
good?
to watch. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. There are some bits where you go, yeah, I wouldn't put that on TVs nowadays, but yeah, there are some wrong moments, but yeah, fun to watch.
And it says that the title implies that they spend an entire weekend at Bernie's. The characters arrive at 6:30 p.m. on a Friday and leave in the late afternoon on Saturday.
So it's not really a weekend, is it?
No. And on the 5th of July 1687, we have the anniversary of Isaac Newton publishing the Philosophiae Naturalis Principia Mathematica.
Damn, that's impressive. You can actually say that quite fluently.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's in Latin. I don't speak much Latin, but the translation is The Mathematical Principles of Natural Philosophy. It's the book describing the laws of motion and the law of universal gravitation. And yes, it is Latin. It was described by his peers as the greatest production of a human mind. So basically, the book is a mathematical foundation for classical mechanics, including Johannes Kepler's laws of planetary motion, Newton's laws, and also his first use of calculus.
Huh.
So DJ, what is our messed up moment tonight?
Okay, so are you a fan of pizza?
I love pizza.
Okay. Are you a fan of The Boys?
I haven't seen The Boys.
But you know of it, right?
Yeah, the very gory superhero show.
Yep. So, for our messed up moments in Nerddom number 19, in The Boys issue number 11, during the first issue of the glorious 5-year plan story arc, our not-so-lovable heroes find themselves in the frigid winter of Russia. There is a bit in there about how bad the members of the Russian organized crime are, which Billy the Butcher calls them a bunch of bloody savages, and that they play for keeps before something gory happens for pizza. And here's the messed up part. The pizza gets delivered with the face of the pizza delivery guy on it.
Delicious.
And here's the picture of the pizza. And this was this was to warn the group about the unique brutality of the syndicate that they were going after. Thankfully, this thing hasn't been on TV yet. But yeah, I wouldn't. That's just messed up.
Yeah, don't get involved in organized crime, King.
Nope. Nope. I wouldn't try. Yeah, I wouldn't.
And our wacky movie for this week is 1962's Panic in Year Zero. The movie was directed by and starred Ray Milland, Gene Hagen, Frankie Avalon, and Mary Mitchell. While on a fishing trip, Harry Bolden and his family hear an immense explosion and realize Los Angeles has been destroyed by a nuclear attack. Escaping to the hills of his family, he sets about the business of surviving in a world where the old ideals of humanity will be its first casualty. The movie was originally titled Survival. Samuel Z. Arkoff of AIP said Avalon and Milland were teamed together because they both have particular types of followers, and the combination adds up to an attraction. Can you tell me what that means, DJ?
I have no idea what that means either, and I was like, what? I don't get it. Maybe like say Avalon and Milan.
Like, is it saying they're both hot actors and they star power or something?
I have no idea. I mean, Ray Milland is a Welshman, according to his bio, and the other guy, I have no idea. Maybe it's and Frankie Avalon. Was it Avalon? They said, yeah, Avalon.
Yeah.
And Frankie Avalon is he's an American actor and a former teen idol. So you are kind of right. But given the plot of that movie, you reckon you reckon it's prophetic to what we're seeing now?
I think it's it just sounds like a good bit of post-apocalyptic fiction.
Hmm.
Of which my least favorite, not because it's a bad movie, but because it is so hard to watch, is Threads.
Freds, as in Freds.
No, I know my accent messes that up. Threads, like sewing.
Oh,
It's a British film. Basically, a series of vignettes of the aftermath of nuclear war, and it gets absolutely.
yeah. I'm quickly looking at the plot, and yeah, that's yep. That brutality of it written on
This one
text is
sounds like it could get brutal as well.
uh-huh.
But it was also one of the first post-apocalyptic films,
Hmm.
following the movie Five from 1951, which we've spoken about. It's about a group of 5 people getting locked in a bank vault after a nuclear war,
Oh yeah.
including a neo-Nazi and a black guy.
I find these post-apocalyptic movies they're an interesting character study in terms of how would people react in over the decades to a nuclear war.
Yeah, there's a lot of movies that follow the same basic principles, but
Hmm.
it does really. I think it says something about the culture that made the movie, depending on how the characters react.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all we have for tonight. Where can they find us, DJ?
They could find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, that'snotcanon.com, and any other audio platforms we'll be in. They can also find us on X as well. That's all I can think of right now. My mind's kind of gone blank.
Fair enough then. Look after yourself, stay hydrated, and we'll see you next time.
Stay happy, stay nerdy, and peace out.